smarter, faster, and for more.
Hello, Bay Area. Happy Friday. I'm your host, Nagaraj Annaiya, your local Bay Area realtor. Today, I'm joined by April L. We are going to discuss about anything on the real estate. But today, we are focusing on the mortgage. Any questions on the mortgage or a Bay Area real estate, you can give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. Any simple questions? Don't worry. Do give us a call. We are happy to take and we are happy to address it. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. Hi, April. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Nagaraj.
April, do you know that a lot of people complain Bay Area home prices are expensive? But if you see the one of the listing in Los Angeles got sold for 24 million.
There are
24 million.
there are some homes that are outrageously expensive.
But we should not complain for home prices in Bay Area then. It's a 24 million for 6,000 square footage. Do you know how much is HOA then?
Oh
It's
gosh.
$11,000.
Oh my gosh.
$11,000 even after paying a 24 million. So there's a saying, April, always when you doubt about your credibility, if you can't basically, I can't earn more. A lot of people folks what they do, right? They try to get something more so that they can be focused and they can work more harder to become richer or to pay off that. That is one of the mantras for the people who have basically worked hard or got something bigger than that. Okay, listeners, you're listening to Nagaraj Annaiya, you're a host and Bay Area realtor. And if you have any questions on the mortgage, Bay Area mortgage, or any questions on the real estate, you can give us a call. Today, joined by the expert April L and myself, Nagarajan Naya. We are discussing about anything on the real estate. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. April, how is the mortgage doing this week?
You know what? We
Uh-huh.
actually have been seeing an improvement. So happy to say about that. We actually have had the best rates since 1 month ago. So 30 days ago, rates started turning a little bit. So we're trying to make them even better. So hopefully it'll continue.
Okay, listeners, what do you want to know? What's the good news on the mortgage? Give us a call. We are happy to share that. And you like any questions, do give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. What's that? How's the mom? It's like basically how are the interest rates doing, April?
So they're still, the mortgage-backed securities are doing really well. And so rates have been coming down a little bit. So some of the ARM rates we're seeing about the same. If we continue this way, I think the ARM rates will also come down. We're looking at today for 0-point rates, we're looking at 6.5% for a 5-year ARM. That's fixed for 5 years and then adjusts every 5 years. 6.625% for a 7-year ARM, 6.75 for a 10-year ARM, and 30-year fixed is hovering right about 6.875% today, and 15-year fixed at about 6.5% today.
So, listeners, if you're planning to buy a house and you're thinking the interest rates are 8%, that's completely wrong. You can see the rates are even starting at a 6.5%. That's with a 0%. Basically, you are putting a 0% towards the interest, like purchasing it down. Still, you are getting it for a 6.5%. That's the lot of people as thinking that interest rates are so high, you can't buy. But interest rates are still 6.5. But it used to, I think we remember few months back it dropped to a 6% and I think it bounced back to 6.5, but we are expecting to go down still on the next month or so because of the Fed things going on. A lot of things are happening and around, but it might fluctuate from next month, right? April, I think already stabilized a little bit for 6.5 for the ARM rates. Okay, I think first a lot of people might not know what is ARM, correct? I think maybe we can start with that. Why somebody needs to buy with the ARM instead of a 30-year fixed? And if you have any questions, listeners, you can give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. Any questions are welcome and we're happy to take. And maybe a lucky listeners might even get a tickets for tomorrow Maya Bazaar event happening in San Ramon. If you have any questions, give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. Yeah, April. So like why somebody needs to go for ARM instead of a 30-year fixed?
Well, an ARM can, on average, save you about 0.5% in interest rate. In this market, we're forecasting rates are going to come down further. So
Mhm.
why not get a product that's going to save you a little bit in the meantime, since you're probably not going to keep that mortgage for 30 years?
Yeah, I think see most of the times, like as you said, it's as you said well, right? Like basically, you're not going to keep it for 30 years with a 6.5% or like 7%. We are not going to pay for 7% for next 30 years. So rates might fluctuate, and you might need to refinance it. For that one, why do you go even for a 30-year fixed? You can go with an ARM rates or like with a 5-year arms, you can get a 7-year arms, amortized rates. That's why you can see a lot of people are now going for the amortized rates. It might be a 5-year fixed or 7-year fixed or a 10-year fixed. So 5 years are the better, right? Like the rates wise, it's better compared to 7 and 10 or are the same.
They are, yeah. The 5-year ARM is better.
Mhm.
It's in with traditional other lenders, they could be difficult to qualify for because they do have to qualify at a higher interest rate. But because with the specialty ARM that I offer, which is fixed for 5 years and then adjusts only every 5 years, we actually get to qualify the person at the note rate. So that helps people to qualify for more, plus get the better interest rate.
I think that's you said well thing, right? Like qualification. Some of the lenders might do it for a 30-year fixed qualification, correct? They might not do it for a arm rates the qualification. So then the purchase price might go down. So what is your qualification scenario? Are you going to do with a we have one caller, let's take it up. Welcome to the real estate show. Myself Nagarajan here.
Hello, Nagarajane. I'm Harsha.
Yeah, hi Prashant. Please
Some
go
of the
ahead.
lenders. Hello.
Yeah, Prashant, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm asking about the new rule about how the buyer's agent and seller's agent would split the agent commission fees. Can you shed some light on that and when is it going to change for a potential buyer like me?
Yeah, it's well said. I think most asked question, Prashant. I think, see, this is going to be effective from the August, but as per the buying and selling, it might not change much because only the difference what I'm going to see is you guys can't see what is the commission we are going to get or the buyer agent gets. Okay. Previously, it used to be like basically they used to advertise saying as a this is the commission for the buyer's agent. That one will go out now. And I think April also had the same question for me. I think that's why April is smiling. Do you want to say something, April, on this?
You know, I've listened to a few things too, and I wanted to speak with you about that, which was my concern. You know, how is this going to change the industry? But from some of the research that I also heard, that it's not going to change that much, but just that it's not going to be advertised perhaps on
Yeah,
the
I think
MLS.
the rule is simple. You will not be advertised. But how much do you want to give the commission? It's again, it's always, it is seller who decides it. This right now, I basically April, let me give you the various commission scenarios. Okay, I just sold one house in a Gilroy. Okay, I charged $0 for a seller being in a seller agent. It was negotiable. I told the seller, dude, I'm going to charge you $0, but when you buy something else, I can go ahead with whatever the commission I get it. Okay, it is never been a 6%. It is always like it's kind of a wrong thing. It's always even the seller commission, seller agent commission, and a buyer agent commission always has been a negotiable. Okay, and going forward, if it's going to be implemented in August, the only change is as a buyers you might not be there. And one more thing, the change would be the buyers like freely earlier. I would not be signing any contract with the buyers. I was telling them, come, I can show you any houses. If you're interested to work with me itself, you can sign the contract with me to work with me. I never signed a contract. Okay, but now going forward, what is going to change is all the buyers needs to sign first itself with a buyer agent that I'm going to represent you. So sometimes it might be becomes trouble for the buyers because they don't want to continue with that buyer agent. then what's the next step? Like basically then go back, tell to the buyer agent, I don't want to work with you. That is one more stuff which is going to happen. So for now onwards, that is also one of the art stuff. I felt it is nothing going to change, but it is. And one more thing is, like, for example, let's assume the seller agent says $10,000 is the buyer agent is going to get it. But when you put an offer, you can still say to the seller agent, or a seller request a seller, instead of 10,000, give me a 20,000 or a 2.5%, because I need to share some of the closing costs to the buyers. Correct. It's always depends on the negotiations, and again depends on how hot the market is. If the house is not selling, then the seller would basically consider to give some percentage extra instead of losing 10,000. But if you can get 100K, he's willing to do it. It's always been a negotiation. Prashant, hope it answered for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I hope, it doesn't fall in the end on the buyer itself, the whole split between buyer agent and seller agent. Because earlier it used to be the case that, the voice is kind of equally heard. But moving forward, with this thing, right, if in a region where the homes are selling really fast, the buyer agent probably will not have that much say compared to a seller agent with this given condition, because what would incentivize the seller agent to split his share, right? I mean, and if it comes down to the fact that hey, I'm gonna only give you, like in your example you said, like $10,000 to the buyer agent,
Yeah.
and nothing more. Would there be a case where the buyer agent would demand money from the buyer, or probably eat into the commission, the benefit that he's probably otherwise would have given back to the buyer?
See, it is always a negotiation now also going forward, because you can strike upfront initially, because until you finalize the house, you don't know what's the commission the buyer agent also gets. Okay.
Right.
It's always a negotiation again. Okay. For example, when you sign the contract, maybe you can tell them this is what you might get, but if you don't get it, what is the next scenarios? It can be always, in my case, when I represent April or Prashant, it's always been a negotiation. You can't set a hard rule and you can go basically represent the buyer there. Then you are not a proper or a correct buyer agent or an agent to be, because you're basically, as a realtor, you should be negotiating the price, because you're representing a particular relationship. Basically, you should negotiate the price for the buyer when you represent it. When you for the seller, you should negotiate it and do the deal better for you. So in that case, if some funds are, like, for example, as you said, if it goes back, talk to the seller. If the seller is willing to do it, no, if that's what the buyer finally gets it. Yeah, that's it. What you can do it. Finally, it's all finally tied up with the price. Okay. Right now, I have a couple of listings, 3 listings. I asked the seller, do you want to list it for a 1%, 1.5%, or a $0? The seller said, I'm ready to pay 2.5%. I don't want, but I want the best price for my house. Correct? That's what the seller thinks. This maybe makes sense in the East, means other parts of the US, because if home prices are less, maybe that was maybe some of them that might be the scenarios. But in the Bay Area, it's always, not on the Bay Area, everywhere in the US, it's always been a negotiable pressure. That's what going forward. And the buyer, I don't expect buyer to pay for it. Maybe if this is $0, then maybe you can say that this is what I can pay you for this. Does it answer your question, Prashant? Or do you have any follow-up question?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prashant, for calling in. April, so going to the next question. Listeners, you're listening to Nagarajan Naya, the real estate show, myself talking to April, and we're discussing about the lot of mortgage scenarios. And I think, as a Prashant said, what would be the future for the buyers when they're buying with the new law or new things are implementing it. So April, but before going to, I think we just discussed about the ARM and other stuff, which is the best for the buyers, correct?
That is correct.
It's a clear winner. ARMs are the winner. Arms are the winner always.
I would say that is the percentage of arms that I'm doing is huge right now. because of that. Why wouldn't you want to save $300 a month on a hundred, every 100,000 that you're financing?
Yeah, and I think one more thing is, do you want to reduce the points? For example, some people might pay $10,000 or $15,000 upfront instead of 6.5%. Go for 6%. Is it really worth doing it?
No, you're going to have a break even point on points, which usually in the market is going to be somewhere around 5 years. It depends on the exact buy down. You put that money up front. If you end up either selling the home or refinancing that loan, you're not going to hit your break even point. So right now it doesn't make sense for people to pay points because there's probably going to be a refinance opportunity shortly, and that will be a short-term loan, really.
Yeah, listeners, you're listening to Real Estate Show. Myself, Nagaraj, and I am the Bay Area Realtor. I'm talking to April, and we're discussing about a lot of loan options under real estate things in the Bay Area. If you have any questions, give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038, and we are live on Bali 92.3. So going forward, going back, right? You said it doesn't make sense somebody paying a points, okay, but how do we keep the closing cost less? Correct. A lot of people have a confusion. The closing cost means it's huge. But when they break down the closing cost itself, they actually understand what is closing cost.
Well, a lot of the closing costs, quite frankly, are not necessarily closing costs, but prepaid items. So some of those costs, the prepaid items, well, paying 1 year of your homeowner's insurance premium up front, that you're going to pay for anyway. Part of it might be prepaid interest that you're paying from the closing date till the end of the month. Well, that's in lieu of the next month's mortgage payment because mortgage interest is paid in arrears, or setting up an impound or escrow account to pay for taxes and insurance. And that is something that you would have to pay anyway. So sometimes people get, it looks very scary when you get these big numbers, but a lot of them aren't necessarily, actual closing costs that people are getting paid for either the lender, the title company, the appraiser, or county recorder.
I think it's well said. I think when somebody says closing cost is $10,000, okay, don't get panicked. Okay, look at the breakdown and the closing cost again. Buyer closing cost again depends on which county are you buying. Are you buying in a Santa Clara County? Are you buying in Alameda? So San Joaquin. So depending on the counties, even the closing cost will vary. In case of Santa Clara, most of the fees are paid by seller. Okay. In case of Alameda, most of the costs are paid by the buyer. Okay, that is not the waste fees what you do it. Let me break down what are the fees you do it. One is escrow fees, and second is the owner's title insurance. April, do you want to shed a light on the owner's title insurance? Why do we need
that? Actually, and I've had a client use it before. It is when the title company is making sure there's a clean title on the property. If they somehow forget a lien or something that they don't pay off or make sure that's clear, that person can come back and try to foreclose on the property. And I had this happen to a client where they showed up and literally there was a note on their door that said foreclosure on a second mortgage they forgot. And I said, no, don't worry about it. Call this title company. And they did. And the title company had to pay the lien. And of course, it was no fault of her own, but she actually used it. And that's the insurance policy.
So do you know why do we need to pay 2,000, 2,500 for the owner's title insurance? Because that's a benefit what you're going to get. Okay. Only the waste pieces on the one I told you already, escrow fees, owner's title insurance, and some of the times maybe a transfer taxes. Okay. Transfer taxes is again, it depends on which county it might be. It's a 50-50. Sometimes the seller pays, sometimes the buyer pays. Again, go to the standard chart. Who is paying it, which county it is. Listeners, we have 5 minutes left. If you have any questions, do give us a call. Myself, Nagaraj, and I am talking to April on the mortgage things and other stuffs, on the real estate stuffs. Okay, our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. And so going back to the closing cost, So three pieces, and then come back to the insurance. Insurance, it again depends on it's a 1 year insurance, right, April? So it is like basically depends on what you negotiate.
Are you speaking of the homeowners insurance?
Homeowners insurance, yeah.
Yeah. And so, your guys' homeowners insurance, it's gone up in California, but yours is better than ours is down here. I think
I
we
think
have more
last week,
brush.
no, last week I was talking to Subrata. He told me one of the quote what he did was a $15,000. Do you believe it? It's a $15,000 in Danville.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there must be brush around there somewhere. Yeah. So
Yeah.
some of those, by the way, he does a great job.
Thank you. So, see, when you're buying a house, right, it's a team always. The right team, what you put in, that makes it easier for the buyers around so that they no need to go and do that, go do this. Okay. I just give the instructions, I just tell them this is what to do. It's easy when the team follows that, and it basically the buyers gets benefited. A lot of times I've seen when you put an offer gets accepted, realtor job is done. Then basically you go shop for the lenders. That is why the team, when you set it up, for example, mortgage, the one which you're helping out, the insurance stuffs, getting right, because right now getting the homeowners insurance is very tough.
Very
That
tough.
experience when you're putting in for the home, especially the buyers or even the sellers. Okay, a lot of people forget about selling is easy, but selling is sometimes when you don't get the price what you expect. Okay, so that's where the be representing a seller also is matters for us. Listeners, if you have any questions, our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. Myself, Nagarajan Nair, talking to April on the lot of real estate scenarios. So going back to the closing cost, April. So I think the only fees what they need to worry about is the points. What is the upfront points they're paying? Is that correct?
That is, I think, if they're comparing loans, the one thing that they're going to want to look at are lender fees between the rate and lender fees. And if in this time, I would say don't pay points.
Yeah, and I think one thing, anytime when you hear about the rates, always we should mention as APR. What is that APR?
Well, APR tries to compare the loans and what it would be, including the closing costs over the 30 years. However, it depends on also how much interest you put in, and so that can be manipulated slightly.
Okay, listeners, so I have tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, I have an open house at 38308 Redwood Terrace, Fremont. 2 bed, 2 bath. If somebody is looking for a starter home, instead of paying simply $4,000, $3,500, but if you can buy a house, then come and check me out at the open house tomorrow at 38308 Redwood Terrace. Completely remodeled home, nothing to do it for you. Just pack your bags, just go and move it. That's the kind of house it is there, and we can do it with a 5% and 10%. Even April can help us out on that. And if you have any questions, or you can meet me at tomorrow at open house at 38308 Redwood Terrace. Fantastic home, great schools, great neighborhood. So what else do you want, April?
Sounds perfect.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best number and how they can reach out to you, April?
My best number is 949-306-8100.
And easy to remember. I think don't even remember our number. Just go to nagrajhomes.com, click on a WhatsApp icon, and you can call me anything on the real estate or anything on the mortgage. I would be happy to introduce April so that you can discuss your lot of scenarios. Right now, April is helping out one more client for even with a 10% down for a 1.4 million purchase. Okay, it's a fantastic home which we went into a contract in Fremont last week, and it's only one buyer, like basically one income, but still we were able to qualify for 1.4 million. Thank you, April, for doing that and helping out all my clients.
Oh, my pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity. You always have such great clients.
Yeah, listeners, if you have any questions, all these recordings will be uploaded on my YouTube. Some of the terms might be new, but if you're not sure, you can just go watch it on the YouTube channel again. It's a Nagraj Annaya YouTube handle. Thank you so much, all the listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you.